Hello everyone, and welcome to another Mortal Online 2 newbie tutorial installment. In this video, it's going to be a little bit shorter. We're just going to go over the current magic that is in the game. The current magic we have in the game is the Ecumenical skill. If you go under magic schools, you can see Ecumenical here. If you followed my newbie guide, you talked to the tutor in Havens, you should already have some of this skill. If you press U, it will open up your Ecumenical spellbook. When you hover over the spells, you'll see a bunch of info arranged on the right-hand side. It's important to note that the numbers in the info arranged on the right-hand side are assuming you have 100 skill in all the sub-skills for magic. Those sub-skills would be mental focus and mental offense. Okay? Now, the other important thing to note is when you look on the right-hand side, it'll say skill range. Skill range is referring to your Ecumenical magic skill. So you could begin to cast Outburst right here at 10 Ecumenical, but you would have a chance to fizzle it. At 25, you would no longer have a chance to fizzle the spell based on your Ecumenical skill, but you would still obviously have the chance to miss it, either due to your aim or range. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to go through the spells that are available to us and explain to you what they do, their purpose, mostly regarding PvP, and a little bit of nuance to them. So the first we're going to start with is Spurt. This is the beginner magic spell. It's actually one of the most important spells, which is very, I guess, confusing to some people. It only takes water as a regent. Oh, and keep in mind, you do need to have all these regions to cast these. I guess I shouldn't assume that. You do need to have all these regions on you to cast these spells. Now, Spurt has a range of 3,000. This is on the high end. You're going to notice different spells have different ranges. And it's important for you to figure out those ranges. Now, currently in the game, you can't tell if you miss a spell based on your aim or range. It gives you the same message either way. Hopefully in the future, they clean that up because it's a little confusing. Spurt is very useful for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't need a lot of skill to use it, and it's very cheap. So when we go into persistence, and magic is going to be a grind, you're going to notice a lot of mages probably spurting themselves in the face or spurting someone else. That's because it's cheap to cast, you can spam it, and it's going to raise your sub magic schools. Now, Spurt will not level your Ecumenical to 100 because, and I'm pretty sure this is the way this works, Spurt won't give you skill gain past 10 because that's the max skill range for it. You would need to be casting bigger spells, most likely, towards the later end of the skill tree to be getting those skill gains towards the end. The reason Spurt is so useful is twofold. You can use it to pop or reflect on other people, and I'll get to that spell later. Or when you kill someone, you need to get them through mercy mode, right? So when you overkill someone in PvP, they'll go into mercy mode. They're going to start staggering a little bit. Spurt is really good because it's one of the quickest casts in the game, and it will kill them while in mercy mode. So it's a finisher. So Spurt is really, really strong for those reasons. It should be in your arsenal. You should be using it to tag mobs if you need to pull them because the range is really far. And in PvP, it's got quite a crucial role. The next spell we're going to go over is Purify. Purify is also one of the very big bread and butter skills. Purify currently uses the same animation as the heal, so it's a little confusing when other people cast it. But Purify cleanses the target it's cast on. Now you can cast it on yourself or you can cast it on a target. Currently, Purify cleanses two things in the game. Corrupt, which is another spell we're about to go over, and fulmination. So in PvP, a lot of people are going to call that they're corrupted or fulminated, and it's going to be the mage's support job in the back to purify them. Next, we have Corrupt. Corrupt is one of the most crucial spells in the game. Cast it for you here. So we can see how long corrupt lasts. See at the bottom? 17 seconds. So while corrupt is on a target, it's a dot. If you played Ultima Online, it's similar to poison. Now, while corrupt is on a target, they cannot heal at all. I'll showcase that for you real quick. See, lesser heal failed because you're corrupted. There we go. We'll cleanse it. So it's a very crucial thing in fights for mages to throw out corrupts to allow their fighters to secure kills and pressure kills and also cancel out heals of your enemies. So corrupt, again, very, very crucial spell. The next we'll go over is lesser heal. Now, lesser heal is the most mana efficient heal in the game currently. Obviously, we're going to get more magic schools down the line, so I can only go over Ecumenical and what it's offering right now. Now, it says 4 mana. This is with maxed sub skills it's showing you, so keep that in mind. So 259, see how it takes 5. So if I had my mental offense and mental focus at 100, it would take 4 mana. So for 4 mana, without a headshot, we're healing for 26. It's a quick cast. It's very strong. And it's most of the time what you're going to want to do when you're playing support as a mage. Obviously, greater heal is a stronger heal, but it takes a longer cast time. So usually lesser heals are how long fights are going to be won, basically by the mages in the back, kind of using their mana bar as efficiently as possible. And why don't we just jump right into greater heal with that. Greater heal, as we can see, 15 mana. And it says 28 to 34. Now, while this does show what 100, mental offense would be, I don't think it takes into account your intelligence. The character I'm currently on has 138 in, so these spells are hitting about as hard as they can. The times you want to cast greater heal, or when someone's about to die, when it's really crucial, you're going to want to do this when someone has a lot of pressure on them. Again, it's not as mana efficient. It takes some of your more important regs. So lesser heal is usually what you're going to go to. But again, there's certain situations that are going to call for greater heal, and you need to learn when to do that. Even in dungeons, when someone's tanking a really strong mob, you're going to be able to get more heals out by spamming greater heal than you would with spamming lesser heal. So again, different situations, different spells. The next spell we'll go over is outburst. Now, I don't see a lot of people cast outburst, but this is a mistake. Outburst, while it is on the lower end of the damage numbers, is actually a very, very strong spell. So the reason outburst is so good, and maybe you caught it there, it has a range of 4,000. Now remember I said spurt was far at 3,000. Outburst is the farthest attack we mages currently have. If you look at all these ranges, they're all much, much lower. Most of them sit around 2,000. So outburst is pretty much double the range of the majority of spells. So if someone's getting away from you, or you need to hit a mob from really far away, you're going to be looking to cast outburst. So make sure this is something you bind. The next spell we're going to go over is lightning. Now, lightning has a little bit higher range than your main damage abilities, but I don't see it used a lot, simply because it's not overly mana efficient. It doesn't do a ton of damage. And most of the time, if you're in PvP, you're going to want to be mostly in a support role. And if you do go offensive, there's usually better options than lightning. So I would say lightning is one of the most underutilized spells. Doesn't mean it's the weakest. I just haven't seen it used to its full potential. Maybe it has a better place in the game than I'm giving it credit for. The next spell we'll go over is Mind Blast. Mind Blast is actually an incredibly, incredibly strong spell. Now, what Mind Blast does is bypasses a character's magic resistance. and instead does damage based on the difference between their strength stat and their intelligence stat. So because this character has 10 strength and an insane amount of intelligence, Mind Blast demolishes it. 36 damage. This is really good damage. It can't be resisted. It's very consistent. See how it's the same every time because it's a raw calculation. So Mind Blast is very underutilized by a lot of people in the game. It should be used mostly on mages and then Psi fighters. A Psi fighter is a foot soldier that has heavy psych to resist spells. So their intelligence is usually very low. And the difference between their strength and their intelligence will do quite a bit of damage, the same way as if it was a mage. Following that, we have fulmination. Fulmination is another bread and butter spell. Fulmination is technically a dot because it takes so long to go off. But fulmination can be comboed with other spells. So because it's a delayed damage spell, I cast it on myself. We can see it ticking down. You can line up other spells so they hit at the same time, and then a lot of burst comes through. The drawback of fulmination is that it can be cleansed with purify, as we previously talked about. If you're trying to go offensive as a mage, you're mostly going to be casting fulmination, corrupt, and then our next spell, Thunder Lash. Thunder Lash is a short range, high damage spell. It does get resisted if the character has a lot of psych. But this is the biggest direct damage you can do, in my opinion. There is one more spell we'll talk about that is technically more. But if mages are able to sync up Thunder Slash on opponents, it can be absolutely devastating. The next is Magic Reflect. Magic Reflect is an interesting spell. Now, I would rate it higher, but there's a lot of situations where Magic Reflect simply isn't what you want. If I cast Magic Reflect on myself, we can see that the buff lasts for about 900 seconds. This is a long time. The issue with that is that not only does it block offensive spells that are cast on your target, but it also blocks beneficial spells. So as we can see, because I had Reflect on myself and I cast a heal and I'm the one that cast it, it's just reflecting it back on myself. But usually it's going to be someone else healing you. So if you're by yourself, reflecting yourself is a strong play because you're reflecting your heal back at yourself. But in a group situation, if you're a frontline fighter and someone is a mage and they're trying to heal you and that you have a reflect on them, they're just going to be healing themselves, and that's not always the play. So it's a very situational spell. Make sure to learn the right instances where you want to use it. And unfortunately, for the last two spells in the arsenal, before I did this video, I was an ass and I didn't get the regions for them. So sorry about that. So I'm just going to have to explain them to you. Flame Strike is technically the hardest hitting spell in the game that we currently have. It is also one of the shortest. It takes a very high amount of mana. It has a very high cast time, but it scales very well with intelligence. So if you have a high int character, Flame Strike is going to do the most damage. But you need to be, as I say, within a very close range and have high intelligence to make it work. So this isn't a spell you're going to be casting a lot unless you have a very specific build. And the last spell we have to showcase here is Earthquake. Earthquake is the only AoE currently in the mage's arsenal. Does a decent amount of damage, a lot of mana, has a lot of cast time, and the range is very short. It's an AoE, so a lot of times what mages will do is they will cast it on themselves, run into a group, and then let the Earthquake hit. The other unique property of Earthquake is that it also has a chance to dismount people from their mounts, So it's a very useful tool, but it's, again, very situational. And since the best way to use it is to cast it on yourself, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any comments or suggestions, make sure to leave them in the section below. If you want to see more content, smash that subscribe button like the prom queen and I'll be here to deliver. I look forward to seeing you again. Godspeed, my newbies.